What's that, the numerology? What I'd like to talk about is connections. You know, life offers connections. And I've had some very good connections, or some that worked out quite well. Of course, I've had a few bad connections. But I think everybody that lives a long time will have some ups and downs. But I find that connections are so important. Being around the giants, as the title of the book states, Dizzy Gillespie comes right in the forefront as the master of the music. And I got someone here sitting here to sanction that, Mr. Faddis. And Dizzy showed me a lot of things. Beginning to play music was a trip, because one thing was my brother Percy was given the violin, and to be named Percy and playing the violin in the hood wasn't so good, because you know, big people, and they were kind of rough. So the teacher that Percy had was named Professor Pugsley, Pug, like a prize fighter, a pug, Professor Pugsley. And he had one of the longest pencils I've ever seen. And every time Percy would make a mistake on him, he hit him across the hand. So when my father said, Jimmy, what instrument would you like to play? I said, not the violin. So he said, well, what instrument would you like? And I had heard Benny Carter, who I admired greatly, and Mr. Before Charlie Parker, Johnny Hodges, the greatest singer on the alto. And those two inspired me to ask my father to get the alto saxophone. So when he sent me the saxophone, see, my father, I can't tell the whole story, but it's in the book. I'm trying to pick out some points here. My father was an auto mechanic, and he played the clarinet on the weekends when he got it out of the pawn shop. He played with the Quaker City Elks Band, and he played all the Washington Post and Poet and Peasants and all these kind of songs. And I learned some of those when I was in high school also. I played all of the college songs that I couldn't go to, because we didn't have any money for me to go to the college. So I thought about that later. I said, now where am I playing that? On Wisconsin. Anyway, so my father sent me the saxophone. My grandparents were doing very well. They had a grocery store in Wilmington, North Carolina. And when my father was having problems keeping the family going, I would go to North Carolina to high school in the winter and go back to Philadelphia, where I was born, in the summer. And I later found that Coltrane and myself finished high school in North Carolina. And I don't know who knows this. Even people who are from Texas and other states in the South didn't have the same law as they had in North Carolina. They had a law that all the black high schools went to the 11th grade, and all the white high schools went to the 12th grade. And I asked a friend of mine from Texas, and he said, no, man, we both went to the 12th grade, separate schools. I said, well, not in North Carolina. So Train and I finished in 43. He was in High Point or Hamlet, and I was in Wilmington. You know Wilmington because Michael Jordan made Wilmington famous. But anyway, I started playing the alto saxophone, and I began to play by ear and learning from different people. And eventually, I got with big bands, because the big band was the things of that period. The thing that knocked me out was I went to the Earl Theater in Philadelphia and saw Glenn Miller's band. Ooh, they put the blue lights on the saxophone section, and they played Serenade in Blue. I said, oh, I want to be up there so bad. I knew then I was going to be a musician, because I heard Benny Carter's band when he came through. He had Miles and JJ and people like that in the band. So that's a lot of what happened. But all of these connections, again, we followed Dizzy's band around, me and Percy, with berets on, because Dizzy's band, they wore berets and artist ties. So we followed the band around. I followed the band around till I got in the band. Because Dizzy used to say, there's the Heath brothers from Philly. And he started recognizing us, and we were so what happens, I played in the dance band out in Nebraska called Nat Tolls when I got out of high school and graduated, you know, cap and gown, 11th grade, no algebra, no geometry, no calculus. They say, get out and get a job. I did study a little carpentry. But anyway, when I got with this band, Nat Tolls band, my brother Percy got out of the Air Force. He was a Tuskegee Airman and a second lieutenant and a pilot. And let me tell you, when he came back to Philadelphia with his pink pants and his dark olive coat and that hat with the soft brim and the wings, I said, Percy, let me go with you, man, everywhere. Because everybody of every color, every ethnic group, when they see the lieutenant, they... And Percy wiped down on him real cool. I was loving that. And, you know, so we both, after he got out of service, then he started playing the bass. But I was the first professional in the family. And he told me, say, well, man, why don't you come back to Philly and quit Nat Tolls, because I met Dizzy. And I was crazy about Dizzy and Bird, and I heard him when I was on the road. And when I come back, I found out Dizzy was calling Percy, hey, Lieutenant. Didn't even know his name. Call him Lieutenant from the Air Force. And I ended up getting him with the band before Percy did. But that's a lot of history in my family because of the three of us playing music. And I was so comfortable when playing with Percy and my brother too, because we both had the same mother and father. And that lent itself to a very comfortable feeling. And we get in some groove sometime, to Percy would holler, oh, don't go in there. Don't go in there. Because you can't get out of that. You know, get in a serious groove. But I mean, it was a wonderful time with him, and when he passed, it was really difficult to find someone. However, our bassist that we use now, Tootie and I, is in the house, and David Wong, young gentleman. I think Percy's smiling down on him because he's doing an excellent job. But, you know, it's so much.
Percy the Third is over there.
Oh,
In the last row.
Percy the Third. Percy's eldest son is over there, my nephew. He was rough, wasn't he? Taurus the bull.
He's still there.
He's still there. Yes, but you know, I could go on forever until death do I part. Because you know, the stories keep going on and on. I told a story the other day at my first book signing in Philadelphia. That's not in the book. and I want to tell it tonight because I was playing, I want Phoebe to hear this one. I was playing at Count Basie's club with Lou Mitchell on trumpet, and we had a nice groove, and when we came off the stand, Pops was in the house, and Pops came in, "So you cats know what's cooking up there?" Now, you know, that's when we were cats, not dogs. And Pops say, "I just got out of the hospital. They wiped my ass and everything." This is my first time to talk to Louis Armstrong. That's how he came. That's not in the book. Pops. He and Dizzy were so much alike. They were down-to-earth human beings. They would speak to anybody, and they had no entourage blocking everybody, and so aloof. They were just down-to-earth people, and I want to be just like them. Because, you know, we're all human beings. Some are icons. I think I'm an acorn. But there's a, you know, the book has also some of these, I call it unique terms of what you know, we improvise as jazz musicians on language also. So Jon in the Faddis. You know, and I say, you know, Oscar Speedieson on piano, and Count Spacey. And anybody that knows, Speedieson was technique, and Spacey, bing, bing, bing. You see what I'm saying? So I got a list in the book. I'm sure if you knew those people, you'd be able to relate to, you know, some of the unique names. And I'm not the only one. Lester Young was one of the first to do that I remember. And all of these giants. I got my dental giant in the house tonight. Phil Terman over there. He kept me playing, and he kept Dizzy playing. He kept, way back from Harry Connie and Duke and everybody. The dental giant. So he's included in the book. A lot of different giants. But I find that it's just been a wonderful journey that I'm still on. I played last night at the Kennedy Center, honoring the First Lady of Song, they called her, Miss Ella Fitzgerald. And we had an excellent concert, and I was so proud. See, Mike Deese over here, he was in the band, and Sherelle Cassidy, they were in the band. The Dizzy Alumni Big Band. And we played for 3 singers, Dee Bridgewater, Al Jarreau, and Janice Siegel. And it was a wonderful concert. And Antonio Hart conducted the band for the first time in his life on a stage like that at the Kennedy Center solo concert. And my heart was just, because he's my student from Queens College, and now he's the professor teaching saxophone there. And he did an excellent job. So it's an ongoing thing with me that this music and the connections. One other connection I must mention. When I got in trouble and went away to prison in January 9th, 1955, and I returned May the 21st, 1959, 4.5 years later. One thing happened. I met my wife on a day I came home. Percy and Tootie knew her from being a jazz fan around New York. And next week, on the 4th, when I'm in the Blue Note we will be celebrating our golden anniversary. Golden. When I was in prison, a guy named Bruce Lundvall and his college mate came in. I was conducting the shows, you know, whatever we had, because we had a lot of guys in there who just get high and go to jail, come out, get high and go to jail, go to jail. They call that recidivists. Anyway, Bruce must have found out about it because he had heard me play with Miles Davis before I went away in 1953 on a record. And he had that record in his office later at Columbia when he got to be the president of Columbia. So Bruce and his college mate came in to the concert. And would you know, later on in 1978, Bruce hired the Heath brothers on Columbia Records. Now that's a connection I never dreamed of. That's something good that came from where I was. So something good comes from everything. But I'm telling you, to miss 4 Christmases in lockup, that ain't no fun. So when I came home, I said, well, that's the end of the heroin. That's the end of it. I had it. And I've worked a lot with Veritas and Jazz American, with Wendy, trying to help people who are in bad shape. And I feel like I'm trying to give back some of the dirt that I did when I was sick. I was a sick person. Now, I think it would be better to ask the audience to ask a question, please, because otherwise I'm going on and on with the same, some different stories that are not in the book. But anyway, any questions that you would like to ask of me, historic or personal?
A couple of months back when Pat Martino was at the Jazz Museum in Harlem, he talked about a tour, I think about 61 or so, with Lloyd Price. And I think you were part of that, and there were a lot of other Philly people. Can you discuss a little bit your connection with rhythm and blues in addition to the jazz?
Yes. Well, I did play with Lloyd Price and his band, and Hampton also was writing some music for Lloyd Price. And I remember Pat very well. But, you know, I had another occasion. When I got home, I needed some money to get to New York so I could start my jazz career for real again. And I had a student again named Sam Reed, saxophonist. And he was running the band at the Uptown Theater in Philadelphia. And I would play with his band in order to get me some money. I'm trying to get my money together so I could get back to the Apple, because this is where jazz is. And so I played behind James Brown, Wilson Pickett, U.S. Bonds, the Supremes, and a lot of other R&B people. All I know about that music is the composition would be short, about 2 minutes, and the vamp at the end would be 10 minutes with the saxophone, bob, boo, bob, boo, bob, boo, bob, boo, bob, while they talk, you know, and prance around. I do know that about the R&B.